Hey yo, what up to the Retain fam? It's your boy Bushle. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and please drop down a comment below on what you guys want me to record videos on about, especially when it comes to my own semen retention journey and experiences that I've had, and like what are like the couple of insights that y'all want me to bring clarity on, as you know, if ever like you're also starting out on your semen retention journey. And to those who've clicked on my videos, who viewed and liked, been watching these videos, I really appreciate it that you guys have been watching my videos, even if it's a small group of individuals. For me, it does make a whole lot of difference. I'm really grateful and appreciative of like y'all guys watching my videos, and please like, share, and subscribe, and please continue to support the channel, and help with growing the community, because there's a whole lot of passion and there's a whole lot of things that I'm willing to do as the more time I want to spend recording on these videos, and a whole lot of clarity and insight and information and knowledge I want to bring out on these videos, as the more time I'm going to be continuously embodying this path. So today I wanted to talk about something that like I've commonly noticed about myself, something that actually also led up to how did I actually came to have an awakening, and also like why I'm also someone who's on the semen retention path. I am an empath. So an empath is someone who can mirror people's subconscious thoughts and emotions without them really trying to mirror those subconscious thoughts and emotions. Meaning each and every single thing that is below the surface, you naturally have like this mirror effect, that those type of things can be revealed up to the surface, and you can discern truth and lies. You can someone who can see beyond the distortions and the illusions that are projected on most individuals, and you are able to see these things. And at some point it makes things really difficult if maybe you're someone who's grown up being an empath, and at some point you had certain experiences that did not really make sense to you, or these type of experiences where you're able to see certain things, where you've been able to make certain tension amongst your social groups and amongst your peers. Yeah, it makes things really difficult for you as an individual, especially even before I had an awakening. Since my awakening started happening in 2022, whenever like I've been a child growing up, I've always been a person who's always thought differently. I've always been someone who really like, there's certain things that my peers knew how to put themselves in certain scenarios and within certain actions and behaviors that really did not click well into my own conscious. But at that point I didn't really had anything to question about when it came to this type of things. Whenever I had to really question certain things. As a kid, I usually do the things that everyone else was doing, because I was just a kid. I was really unaware of what is the truth and what is lies, what is like the things that I'm not supposed to be doing but I'm actually doing because I see the rest of my peers doing. And like at some point, even if like I did try to do those things, at some point my aura and energy and my vibration did cause a whole lot of friction and a whole lot of tension, where because there were certain individuals who noticed that like I'm actually someone who's completely different from the rest of the group, and others thought maybe like I was trying to make myself better than everyone else. Others thought maybe I was trying to act much more smart or much more capable, or someone who's actually 10 times better than everyone else. Like there's a whole lot of things that actually happens if ever you're someone who's an empath. Even if you try to tell everybody else or someone else about this type of things, even those people that you tell these things, they're gonna think that you're crazy. They're just gonna think that you're insecure. They're just gonna think like you have a whole lot of internal issues, and you think everyone else is actually relating to the very same thing that you're relating. Because being an empath, that's one of the cons that comes with it. Of course there are its pros, because at some point It's gonna make you reach to a point in life where you're gonna see more of reality as the way it is. You see things for what they really are than what like the world is projecting, than what the matrix has collectively indoctrinated and programmed into so many minds of so many people. And when you see these things, it's really hard to make others see these things, and it's really hard to make it much more clearer to others. Even semen retention and like understanding the power and creativity of sexual energies amongst those things that it's not commonly gonna be understood by so many people, because most boys and men have been indoctrinated, have been programmed to chase after lust, to chase after instant gratification, to chase after pleasure instead of purpose, instead of goals, instead of tapping into their own divine masculinity and tapping into their own balanced testosterone. Most men nowadays have been feminized. Most men nowadays are actually lustful. Most men nowadays, they all live up to pleasure and instant gratification. That's why things are actually the way that they are, because so many men have been programmed into being slaves, like modern day slaves. Others are NPCs. Others have been more feminized, like in ways that we even see the rise of LGBTQ plus communities. Not because like I'm really like against this type of people, but whenever you really understand the like agenda, the narrative, why this type of communities exist, and why have most men been feminized, and why do they promote the concept of lust, and why we as men, we are not commonly told to preserve and cultivate our own sexual energy, because this sexual energy of ours, it's a creative outlet, it's a creative intelligence that can give us the ability to create solutions, that can give us the ability to create inventions that could actually have a crucial impact on society, that can actually help individuals, like with so many crises and issues that the world is going through. And that's why you commonly see one of the most prominent figures and the most prominent individuals whenever it comes to the world stage. You'll realize that all of them, they had this common foundation, that they all knew the power of retaining and cultivating your sexual energy as a man, and how whenever like you understand how your sexual energy has a role that it plays into your life, how much potential and capability you have into manifesting and attracting things from the collective unified field of the ether, and literally bringing it into the third dimensional reality, especially when it comes to your own thoughts, when it comes to like the things that you constantly visualize. Whenever like you're someone harnessing your sexual energy, when you're someone who's cultivating it and refining it and using it towards a much more greater goal, and using it for a much more higher purpose in life, you realize that okay, you can attract things much more faster, you can like attract things at a much more efficient way without using much effort as much as you should, and like your energetic levels increase, and even like your mental focus, your mental clarity, your mental sharpness, and also you become much more steady and stagnant and grounded in who you really are as a man. And also your testosterone is actually like at a much more higher peak than it usually would if ever you're someone who's depleted. So yeah, whenever like you're an impaired and you're also practicing semen retention, and also you're someone who's on the awakening journey, there's a whole lot of things you're gonna see as the way they really are, and at some point it won't make sense to other people. Even semen retention, I know like so many of my friends and peers, if they had to realize that I'm actually someone who's retaining and cultivating their own sexual energy, it won't really make sense to them, because this is something that's commonly not talked about in mainstream media. This is something that like the matrix has put an agenda on over sexualizing each and every single thing, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to music, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to so many things. Most people only view sexuality for the purpose of procreation, for the purpose of having fun, but they wouldn't view sexuality as like something that could also have a crucial impact when it comes to so many things in like someone else's life, and also within an individual's life. Because like sexual energy is a really, really powerful energy, and as an impact, it also like helps you discern certain in things where you can see even people who are actually depleted. Like the way it's fun in it, like, because there's a whole lot of things that I've been able to notice in my life, but I just kept quiet because I didn't like seem like someone who's actually weird whenever I'm gonna mention certain things to certain people. And the fact that at some point I've always been someone who usually always kept quiet whenever I didn't have to keep quiet. I've always been someone who chose to ignore certain things even if I've seen and noticed certain things. But the fact that now I'm retaining and like I'm cultivating this energy, and the fact that I am an empath, and the fact that I'm actually a Virgo, to make things much worse, that I'm actually a Virgo. And if you do your own thorough research and researching certain abilities and traits of Virgos, you'll commonly find in being empathic is something that is commonly, usually there, especially someone who's on an awakening journey, someone who's actually seeing through the illusions, who's seeing through the distortions of like things that are happening in like our modern day culture, in our modern day reality, and so many things that have been accepted as the social norms of today. As an empath, there's a whole lot of things that I'm actually realizing each and every single day, that everything is actually a lie. Not completely everything though, but like I could say 90% of what like we've accepted as a collective, especially here in Africa, especially in South Africa, and especially at different places of the world. There's so many things that have been promoted, that have been, indoctrinated and programmed to so many minds of individuals. And when you see through these things, it's definitely going to make things much more difficult and much more hard for you to actually put these things out to people who are not going to be on the same vibrational wavelength that you're currently vibrating at, especially if ever you're someone who has this different aura, this different energy, you have this different light that is radiating which wherever you currently are. And as an empath, you're definitely gonna like trigger so many people's subconscious thoughts and emotions, and you're definitely gonna start mirroring certain egos and unconscious aspects of so many people's lives that they know that they should be confronting, that they know they should be like, putting their own awareness into it, but they're so much caught up in being distracted, they're so caught up into the matrix, they're so caught up into the illusion instead of facing these things. And if ever you're someone practicing semen retention, like I definitely guarantee you that you're actually doing something that 90% of individuals who are not actually doing, because sexual energy has the power to reveal your ego at some point, because lust itself, it's the foundation of all egos. You can even do your own research about it, that apparently whenever you look at like those pictures of chakras and even like the different vibrational scales, you can do your own like research about this type of concept. You'll realize that lust itself, it's the lowest vibration. Lust is actually like at the bottom of the base root chakra, meaning that if ever you're not someone who can surpass lust, if you're not someone who can conquer lust, you're someone who is not able gonna be transcend your attachments. You're not someone who's gonna be able to transcend your ego. You're not someone who's gonna be able to transcend the illusions of the matrix if ever you're a lustful individual. And most men nowadays are lustful. Most people nowadays are actually like lustful people. Like I've noticed that, but this is just something that I kept quiet about it. And to be honest, even I myself, I noticed that I've been lustful for like the last 2 to 3 years. Even when like I started having an awakening, I realized there's a whole lot of unconscious things that I also had to notice within myself, including like being a lustful person. Not like lustful as if like I've been like a pervert, like not that lustful sense, but in some way the fact I've been someone who's been exposed to corn at a really young age, of someone who's jacked off, and like, at some point I really had to let go of those type of destructive habits and behaviors. And ever since I started retaining, and I started learning the power behind cultivating and retaining this sexual energy, and the fact that I'm also including this retention journey on my own awakening path. I'm including this practice also on my own spiritual path, especially the fact I've been interacting more with my own ancestors. I've been interacting more with my own spiritual guides, and also the deities that I've been acknowledging, like even interacting with the lower realms and the upper realms. Like, there's a whole lot of discernment that is happening in my life. There's a whole lot of truth and distortions that I'm seeing for what they really are, and it makes things really difficult, because of course, even within childhood, growing up being this type of individual, even right now it's still like difficult. And right now I'm realizing that I gotta use my own time, energy, and attention for so many things that are gonna help me like transcend the matrix, that will help me transcend like the ego. And even certain individuals within the gym, I've noticed that they've become more magnetic to me. Even the type of conversations and topics that usually come up whenever I'm currently at that environmental space, I've noticed like there's certain conversations, especially at the gym, that usually wouldn't show up unless there was someone whose vibrational wavelength, someone's aura and energy was literally having an influence within that certain environmental field. There's certain conversations that I've realized that came up, especially those type of conversations that make other individuals be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to talking about like how like confused like the world and society really is, how much so many things have been distorted, and like how many individuals are actually asleep. Like these type of conversations, I've noticed them that they came up at the gym, and all of a sudden start realizing some people start talking about spirituality. But of course, like at some point when these type of conversations show up, you literally like also have an interest, and you start bringing out your own insight when it comes to this type of conversations. Then the moment you bring out those insight and knowledge, all of a sudden you realize others like they react much more differently whenever you say certain things, just to show you that like there's actually something about you that like usually like changes the environmental field that you're in, especially if ever like you're living a chestful life. You're someone who's retaining, you're someone who's increasing your aura, your energy, and your vibrational wavelength, and you're someone who's not actually asleep amongst the collective. And there's this other guy yesterday, whenever like I was at the gym, he definitely said something that made me realize that okay, there's something like about like this retention practice that is actually doing on my own spiritual path. Because this guy definitely said he can definitely tell that I'm actually someone who read books. Not only do I read books, but I have a whole different aura and energy. And he told me that I should continue to maintain this type of aura and energy that I have, and I shouldn't let it go. And this other guy, this other day, besides this, that he told me that he likes the level of mindset that I actually have towards so many things whenever like he hears me talks about certain things, because this type of things usually do occur whenever like I'm in the spaces that I'm actually in. And just to make things clear, that it's not like I actually like put myself in a scenario where I'm actually chasing attention, where I'm actually like wanting to put myself in this type of conversations. But these conversations usually come up wherever I usually am. It's like there's this light that I'm embodying, there's this aura and energy that's actually vibrating much more different within the rooms that I'm currently in. And especially as an empath, the fact that I see more than what's beneath the layer. So yeah, chat, I'm definitely right now on day 47. I'm retaining, I'm transmuting, I'm channeling this energy. I'm realizing that okay, there's a whole lot of things about semen retention, not just like on the physical level, not only on the mental level but energetically. There is definitely something that semen retention does to you. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. And if ever you're someone who's on the retention journey, just know these type of things, like we're gonna start occurring more to you also, as you're gonna retaining. And yeah, I'm gonna like finish this video. To those who've reached this far, I really appreciate it for viewing and watching my videos. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I left down also like a couple of links to my also social media platforms that I also use, so y'all guys can check those also. And yeah, see ya in the next videos.